Hey there, fellow wrestling fans. Hell in a Cell comes to us this Sunday, October 26th from the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. Despite a few booking flaws and the cringeworthy potential based on the outcomes of this Sunday's matches, the show ultimately looks like it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The lineup is stacked with great matches, and I'm excited to watch it on the WWE Network and be live tweeting along with all the rest of you guys. First off, we have two big behemoths, with the Big Show facing the hero of the Russian Federation, Rusev. I don't think Big Show has much of a chance in actually winning this match unless he gets his buddy Mark Henry to come out and give him a hand again. Quite frankly, Rusev has proven time and again that he is the superior athlete in the WWE. I think when all is said and done, Big Show is going to either be tapping out or passing out in the clutches of the accolade. I'm not about to cheer for Russia, but I have to give some respect to the big man. Shot of vodka for the working man. I'm ready for that. Alright, now I think I'm ready. It's time for Brie mode. Overall, I've been digging this rivalry. It's nice to see that it's not quite ready to come to a conclusion just yet, as I think that the interactions between these two sisters could continue to at least be entertaining. Entertaining in like a Total Divas Season 1 type of way, as opposed to a Total Divas Season 3 type of way. And why do I say it's not coming to a conclusion? Because Nikki's gonna win on Sunday. She's gonna be Brie's personal assistant for at least a few weeks till somebody gets tired of it. Moving on to the championship matches of the night. I'm going to start off first with the WWE Tag Team Championship with Goldust and Stardust defending their titles against the Usos. I was talking on the podcast the other night trying to figure out why exactly this match was happening, and I think we came to the conclusion that the Usos haven't actually had their rematch clause cashed in yet. So this is it. A good time as any, I suppose. On the downside to that, you know, there hasn't been a lot of build-up. The team of Stardust and Goldust, they've had various matches, some including against the Usos and like six-man tags and the like. Ultimately, it's one of those things that, you know, I think the match will be fun. These are four very, very capable wrestlers, but storyline-wise, it's kind of leaving a little bit to be desired. In the end, I think Goldust and Stardust will retain, and they'll move on to something a little bit bigger and better than the Usos. That's not a knock necessarily against the Usos. Once again, good wrestlers, just, you know what I mean. They haven't exactly ever really been the most charismatic couple of dudes. Up next, the WWE Divas Championship, where AJ Lee defends against Paige. These two have been going at it since the night after WrestleMania, quite frankly. You know, a little bit of a lag in between then and when AJ came back. But ultimately, that has been the story of the Divas Championship for the past 6 months. They've spent the last few months trading the belt back and forth. I think that continues this Sunday. Look forward to some good women's wrestling and for Paige to retain. We're also going to see the United States Championship defended as Sheamus faces off against The Miz. Now, The Miz has been riding a Damien Sandow-shaped rocket to the moon. That's a really awkward visual. I apologize. I take it back. But for Sheamus, this Sunday, it's a shameful thing, Lobsterhead. This Sunday at Hell in a Cell, The Miz wins. Now on this week's SmackDown, they announced an additional championship match for Hell in a Cell. We'll see the Intercontinental Champion, Dolph Ziggler, face off against Cesaro in a 2 out of 3 falls contest for the title. Wrestling! Yay! I think that's about all that really needs to be said about that match. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ultimately, I think Dolph Ziggler deserves to retain the belt with the types of matches he's been having lately. Win or lose, he's an amazing wrestler. He's been proving it. It's almost like they're kind of taking the Intercontinental Championship back to the, you know, this is the Wrestlers Championship. And don't get me wrong, I love Cesaro, but I think that it just makes sense for Ziggler to hold on to that title for a little bit longer. And now we move back to the non-title picture. In what kind of is a title of sorts, John Cena and Randy Orton will be facing each other for the #1 contenders position for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship to be used at an undisclosed date. So I guess we're essentially going to have two guys who have a claim to the #1 contender position at the end of the night, which is kind of odd. That is, if we include Seth Rollins, who I'll get to in a moment. Ultimately, this match was supposed to be the consolation prize after Cena and Ambrose fought each other for the right to face Rollins at Hell in a Cell. You know, in a way, it still is kind of the consolation prize because of the bad blood between Ambrose and Rollins, and you know, that match just really has to happen. But ultimately, in the scale of the WWE, now the loser of that match gets a chance for a championship match. Seems a little bit off to me. Regardless, Cena and Orton will be playing that same old story again. They faced each other in the cell before. You know, it is what it is. I think the match will deliver. WWE's got to continue on in one way or the other. I do think that Cena ends up winning. The last match between Cena and Lesnar, seemingly a bit of unfinished business as there wasn't a clean finish. Add that to the fact that Rollins and Orton have been having a bit of a rivalry as of late, and that seems to also need to come to a head. So Cena wins, moves on to Lesnar again. Orton loses, does something with Rollins, I don't know. That brings us to the main event of the night, or at least what I hope would be the main event of the night. The rivalry that is upwards of 2 years in the making. These two guys, Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins, they've spent at least a year and a half with the Shield, wreaking havoc in the WWE, fighting against injustice, whatever that ever really meant, I'm not exactly sure, but it was a lot of fun. Ultimately, seeing them split was a heartbreaking moment. These two guys have spent the last 6 months now chasing each other, sneak attacking, screwing each other's matches up. It's like a never-ending thing. When it all comes down to it, Hell in a Cell is a perfect venue to put an end to that whole rivalry. At least this chapter of that rivalry, and they can finally move on to something else for the time being. I have no idea what to expect out of this match. These are both two guys who do not half-ass anything they do, especially when it comes to in-ring work. They're gonna push each other to the limits. Hopefully we don't see anybody go flying off the top of a cage. That's just one of those things that's a little bit too scary, and probably I think somebody would get fired if they did that again. In the end, I think Dean Ambrose stands tall, victorious, because, well, the good guy wins in the end, right? And frankly, with the absence of Roman Reigns, the absence of Daniel Bryan, the majority of the fan base, those especially who aren't John Cena fans, need somebody to rally behind. Dean Ambrose has been that guy. He's taken all the opportunities he's been given, some of which have been really rough, as we saw this on the go-home show to Hell in a Cell on Raw. He wasn't given a lot to work with, but, you know, he made it work. That's just one of the examples of everything he's done. He's really setting himself up for a really big, huge run. I'm very excited to see what happens. Hopefully we have Dean Ambrose standing tall at the end of Hell in a Cell. Well, that does it. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Please leave us some feedback. I know you've left some feedback already talking about some of the other stuff we've been doing. I do want to get some of the other guys to actually show up on these videos or some other videos. We may dick around, do some other cool things on the side. And we're definitely planning on doing some more interviews in the near future. In the meantime, you can also check out our podcast. Go to thesteelcage.com, look up The Steel Cage in iTunes, Stitcher, whatever your favorite podcast aggregator or app is. You can also pick up a t-shirt. Go to thesteelcageshop.com. They're slightly more than $9.99, but they're still worth it. They're super comfy and they look great. I think that just about does it for today. Thanks for watching again, guys. Too sweet me, bro.